I've been there, swum there, done that. So it's a nice place for holidays.
People call it lake for some reason, but I think it's a sea.
No, the Caspian Sea is in the Aktau region, Kazakhstan.
Caspian Sea is the largest lake in the world.
I don't know.
Caspian Sea is located at the western part of the Kazakhstan.
Lockdown.
You're talking about bank?
But what do we know in general? Like, what do you know yourself, Kanat, about the Caspian Sea?
That's an interesting question. Actually, I know that Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water, and I also know that there are 5 countries located in its basin.
Kazakhstan.
Armenia,
Yeah. Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan?
Azerbaijan,
Iran?
Iran, Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Okay,
I guess
5 countries.
that makes
We
sense.
got
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So, like, we also discussed about whether it is a sea or lake.
Sure, yeah. Actually, that's a whole new story, I guess, at this point, because actually there's no convention that would like literally tell you what can be considered a lake or what can be considered a sea. So there is no like clear status regarding Caspian Sea, but it all depends on the country's political or economic interest. So for instance, if the countries want to divide the body of water between each other, they would consider it as a lake, because lake can be divided. However, all the seas are governed by UN, which is why I guess some countries don't want to consider the Caspian Sea as a sea. But Kazakhstan considers Caspian Sea as a sea, because I think Kazakhstan is more ready for international cooperation and resolving the issues regarding Caspian Sea with the international community, and that's why we consider it as a sea. But for example, Iran considers it as a lake.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, so imagine if you go to Iran, it's a lake, right? So, yeah, that's the difference.
But the problem is that, as we've seen from the video, is that people only heard a little about it.
Yeah.
So, but there are actually lots of environmental issues going on there. So let's discuss environment a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
Wait. Before going into environment, let's return back to the issue with lake and sea. I guess that the main problem here is that before, like mid-20th century, there was just the Soviet Union in there, and it was the only entity that was governing over the Caspian Sea. And actually, they didn't have to pay much attention to whether it is sea or lake, because like who cares? But right now, there are 5 countries. Remember we talked about it?
Yeah.
And these countries actually are in conflict with each other. Some of them, for example, Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Yes.
Yeah, and other countries have their own interests. I guess that's like the main problem here.
Okay, so coming back to the environmental problems, in my humble opinion, one of the biggest problems there is oil, basically. Well, in general, oil is a source of conflict all over the world. And at the first place, oil is being extracted from the Caspian Sea. There is lots of oil there, and all of those 5 littoral states are trying to sell it, to export it to the western countries, to the eastern countries, and they heavily rely on it. So it's not that they just take it and that's it. No, they dig a hole, they extract the oil, they pollute the water, they pollute the air as well, and the transportation is also a problem. So the equipment is actually expensive, and it is a huge problem for them. Even though they have lots of money, they gain lots of benefits, but it's still a problem for them to change this equipment in accordance with the standards, with the worldwide standards. And on top of that, even though those standards exist, there is no much enforcement and regulations, because as Kanat just said, those 5 countries are in different conflicts and they cannot really cooperate in this. So like the oil spills are causing the damage for the whole environment, for the whole ecosystem. They cause the damage for the marine life, for people as well, and for everything basically.
Yeah, actually, that's on the technical part, right? But at the same time, did you know that there are actually seals dying?
Yes.
Because of oil, and I've heard that there were 600 seals overall dying because of the oil spills, and the number is disastrous, I think, because if you just imagine 600 seals in the shore, that is just something really heartbreaking, I believe. And in the shore of Kazakhstan, there were like 180 seals, and alone, right? So that's a huge problem. But apart from oil, there is also the problem of overfishing. So what I have read, they say that there are 6 types of sturgeons in Caspian Sea, and almost all of them are at risk of extinction, just because of the overfishing in the Caspian Sea in general. Yeah, and as I heard that Azerbaijan is one of the countries that overfish the most. So yeah, we have to do something about it, because it's not just about the seals, it's not just about the sturgeons. The whole ecosystem is being damaged because of the oil spills and everything else.
Yeah, and once again, they cannot cooperate on this, and they cannot manage.
They just
each
want to
other.
rip off each other, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, especially like talking of the damage to the ecology, I think that we should mention pollution in this
Yeah.
context, because basically there's not only pollution from oil spills, there's also pollution from industry, like heavy metals
Yes.
pollution. There's also an organic pollution, eutrophication, and like algae and stuff like that. Also, we should remember that the water that in the Caspian Sea also gets infectious and can threaten the health of the people that live on the shore of Caspian Sea.
And remember those people who said that they're
Yeah,
going to
swim,
swim
yeah,
in the
yeah,
Caspian Sea?
Oh no, after this, I'm never going to swim.
Imagine having oil around you,
Yeah.
or those
On your
pesticides.
hair. I don't
Oh
know.
gosh, no, I can't imagine. And so it's not really obvious, but also one of the problems that affects the Caspian Sea is ongoing war.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an indirect effect, but let's talk about this in depth.
Yeah.
So the conflict is actually influencing the sea in a sense that Russia has its weaponry in the Caspian Sea, so they are doing some testings and they do the military operations from the Caspian Sea, and this weapon influences the environment as well because it causes pollution, as Kana just said again. And also on top of that, it's not just pollution, it's also disruption of the environment in the Caspian Sea, of the marine life once again. And on top of that, the conflict increases the activity on the Caspian Sea. So since Russia is under sanctions, those other countries who have the access to oil, they want to sell more, they want to export more oil, so they want to extract more oil. Therefore, there are numerous new roads that are built through the Caspian Sea. There are more ships that transport the oil. There is more oil being extracted. So once again, even more oil pollution, even more oil spills in the sea. And this once again increases the damage.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And actually, when you mentioned about the quantity, that's a good point, I believe, because no one is really caring about the environment at this point. Everyone is just caring about the economy. Because I've also read some articles that said that you remember how like a year ago, I think, Russia cut Kazakhstan's gas pipeline?
Yeah.
Remember, right? So do you know that actually like 80% of our gas goes through that pipeline? So imagine what will happen. Our economy will just crumble down because of the Russian policies, right? So our country, so not to depend on Russia, our government decided to build additional pipelines in Caspian Sea. And what does it mean? More pipeline means more
Pollution.
Damage.
spills
More
also.
spills, more
Right,
pollution.
correct.
More
So we'll have even more spills because of that. So I think that's also something really that deserves to be.
So, like, are there any possible solutions to this problem? I thought about maybe incentives to respond. Do the countries that are located in the basin have any incentive to respond? And actually, I can think of few economic incentives to respond. First of all, I guess that nobody in this basin wants the RLC 2.0. Nobody wants the complete drying out of the Caspian Sea. Also, many trade routes located in the sea, and we shouldn't forget about the tourists, like the shore cities. They are definitely getting some profit out of it, like maybe local businesses and stuff. And if the sea will be gone, then how would they gain any benefits from it?
But, well, actually, yes, there are tourist attractions on the sea and they get money from it. But the all money, I think, lies in the oil. And those littoral states, they're not really incentivized to shut this really huge business for their economies, because as we just said, before, all of those 5 countries, they highly depend on the oil production and oil extraction. So I think that they are not going to shut this oil benefiting purposes because of the environment, unfortunately. And as we just said, the Russian-Ukrainian war is increasing the demand for oil from those Caspian Sea states, and therefore I don't think they have much benefits especially during these times. What do you think, Ayla?
Yes, I think that trade is also a huge influencing factor. I believe that trade routes, and especially because Russia has so many sanctions, I think like the rest of 5 countries, right, they are going to be the ones who will be used as a trading route between Asia and Europe, and that will also contribute to the degradation of the environment in Aral Sea. So, not Aral, on Caspian Sea, sorry. So, yeah.
But
That sounds so pessimistic.
yeah, let's not be too pessimistic. There is something good about the Caspian Sea. Well, at least we have the international organization and local NGOs that are working there. Do you remember about the
Sure.
Berezovka case? Like
Yeah.
the local community they talked about the problem to their local government officials, and they solved the problem at their level. And so there are some organizations such as UNEP, right? Environmental program, the World Bank, who finance different programs and projects that are related to the environment, even though it's not on the scale that the Caspian Sea really needs it, because it cannot stop the oil production. But at least there is something going on there.
Yeah, well, there are certain steps that some countries are taking that are sort of good for the environment. And you're right, let's not be pessimistic at all. Kazakhstan is actually doing something. So you remember I talked about the seals and how they were dying. So Kazakhstan is actually suing, and I think like suing the companies that are responsible for this oil spills and the seals dying. So it's not something that will tremendously change the whole like picture of environment, right? But at least there are some steps that are made towards the problem and the issue. There are some incentives, so it's not like fully shut down and no one is doing anything. So yeah, something good could be made out of it. Yeah, but anyway, I think that the least what we can do is at least raising public awareness, because we see that there are not so many incentives, but people should know what is happening in Caspian Sea. Yeah. So we shouldn't repeat the Aral's history. So, and not to repeat Aral's history means that we need to know what is happening in Caspian Sea and what we can do to prevent such disasters. So
We can like film a podcast, maybe,
sure, podcast is a great thing to go, I think. Yeah.
or maybe like post
Yeah,
Instagram
post.
posts
Even
or
post on Instagram, they
yeah,
help,
yeah.
because it increases awareness.
Social media is a great tool, I think, these days.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So there is some hope for the Caspian
There
Sea.
is hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.